Hello, everybody. Tonight is the evening of our course lesson number 21, which was I am determined to see things differently. So now, when I took time in my mind this afternoon and I was still and I prayed and I asked to see all little scraps of anger and guilt and attack that might be left in my mind, there was two instances that came up for me that I wanted to share, and they both actually end up being put in the same package. First of all, the thought of attack that came forward was in regards to my mother. A couple days ago, I had, done a video of when I had visited my parents' house, and it got to the point that, I had a lot of communication with my parents, but I would almost say a lack of communication because it was not being reciprocated. It was more so anytime I would extend words, anytime I would extend helpfulness, it was seen through the filter, especially of my mother, because she was not willing at this time, and her filter showed me in a light of that I was attacking her, that she was wrong, that she doesn't know anything, that she's just failed, and all of these things, which was not how I was seeing her at all. I was extending to her the opposite of that, and I even shared with her, Mom, I see you greater than you see yourself, and the communication even opened up with the question, Mom, would you be open to welcoming the Holy Spirit into your mind and into our relationship? And after she asked for clarification of what this fully meant, and I shared with her, she said, well, yeah, that's ultimately what I want, is to rely on this higher power and no longer myself. And then as soon as I got her to say yes, ego jumped on board big time, and it literally started pointing out all of the ways in which I was supposedly attacking, and how, all of this pain and suffering is justified, and just literally going into this viciousness of ego. And so after a while, she's just rejecting and thwarting and really gone quite insane in the behind the veil of ego, that I had this attack come up within my mind that literally was like, fuck, Mom, like I literally wanted to hit my mom. I did, and I'm going to say that flat out. And it wasn't that I wanted to hit my mother, it's that I wanted to wipe her ego out and away from her, to let that beaming light of God's child come forward, because I know that is within her. I know that is what she is. Although at that time, I was blinded by this ego, thinking I needed to fix it or change it or get her to understand. And so thus, I was meeting ego with ego within myself, and I had this bit of attack come forward, and that was that. I never said anything from it. I never even got angry outside, but it was still the thought in the mind. And that is what today's lesson wanted us to bring forward, is all of these lingering attack thoughts and angered thoughts that are within our mind that we have yet to look at. So I got to see that this was still there. Doesn't matter, it was here. It wasn't accidental form, but it's exactly the same thing, right? And so I got to sit with that for a minute. And I got to become inquisitive within myself. So I started to ask, well, when I communicate with my mom, what is my purpose and intent in doing so? The goal must first be set before it is carried out in action or in deed. And so what is my purpose and intent? And I realized that during those days, my purpose and intent was to get her to understand something, to get her to see differently. Because she's going through this point in her relationship with my father, that they just re-embarked together about a year ago. After a divorce for 13 years, she's about ready to give up again. She's about ready to separate again. And I said from day one that unless you change your mind about your relationship and change the purpose within your relationship, you're going to be repeating the past, and it's the same thing. Here we are, exactly a year later, they're repeating the past again, and I wanted to bring it to our attention. There was a part of my ego that wanted to be right. There was a part of my ego that wanted to be like, see, Mom told you so, you need to change your mind before your experience changes. And so because I found that I was still locked in my ideas of what I wanted to be different, I wasn't seeing what was. And I realized that if I wasn't seeing what was, then I can't be helpful at that time. And yet, at the moment, I didn't want to drop the guard. I just wanted to continue to hope for her to see differently, that I didn't realize that what needed to be seen differently was my own misperceptions of what was taking place. That I was still seeing my mom as this ego who was fighting. I was still seeing her as my mom who has gone through this with every single relationship in her life, including the one with me, right? I left my mom when I was 18 because I couldn't deal with this hard-headedness and unwillingness to see beyond her own craziness, right? And so I found it was still within there, and I guess it's still within me now, because as I'm talking about it, it's more so I feel this bit of annoyance that comes up, like, why can't you understand? I love you so much. Of all people in the whole world, I want you to rejoice in happiness with me, right? And it seems that, my immediate family are the main ones that don't listen, that don't receive benefit from what is being shared through me, who aren't willing to see it or to learn from it. And so at the same time, they're the most beautiful healing and forgiveness lessons and opportunities for me. And I'm so deeply grateful for that. But I also realize that this deep gratitude and love is shared with the Holy Child of God that is in there, and not their ego. So even though their ego is presenting these opportunities for me to forgive and to heal and to let go, I'm still fully grateful for the Child of God being there to know that that is our true shared reality and happiness and peace. So with today's lesson, I got to apply it to this directly, and I got to see it, and I got to look at it, whereas I didn't even know that was in there. I didn't even really know that happened. I almost flushed on by it, didn't even notice. So here it is, right? Here it is. And another thing was in regards to communication with my lifelong best friends. I used to call them my soul sister best friends. And over the last year and a half, 2 years, 3 years of this deep transformation of mind for me, which has resulted in a transformation of my outer experience that has been absolutely miraculous. It's literally like I just totally transcended to this other planet, which in essence I have in my conscious mind. I have in my consciousness I have, right? I've left this separate limited mind and joined with the unified mind, and so because of that, the way in which I see the world is different. So when I'm with my lifelong best friends, it's hard for me to be what I was before, because I am what I am. And so I can no longer almost play that happy character that I once was. Although I'm happy, I'm no longer a character. I know myself to be a soul. And so again, I realized that I still had thoughts of feeling guilty, that I needed to change the relationships or make them better or talk more or need to do something different. And I realized that it was really just my ego afraid of letting myself see them differently and letting myself see myself differently in these relationships, because I'm afraid of losing the special character and personality that ego created for myself in regards to these lifelong soul sister girlfriends that have been in my life since I was a child. And so it's almost this fear of losing what once was, when in reality that's just the thoughts of sacrifice that really do not exist in reality. And so I got to see that I still have misperceptions in regards to these relationships as well. And so both the relationship with my mother and my soul sister girlfriends, I really was able to come to this place of, just humbled not knowing, and true openness for correction. And so you better believe that I'm not just going to let these thoughts brush on by, that I'm going to sit with them more after I finish communicating with you and ask to see them as a light, ask to fully see them differently, and let the true vision of them being innocent children of God, and as well as myself, dawn upon my mind, so that I can truly be a helpful extension of peace, and know that these relationships aren't up to me to do anything or fix them or change them or whatever, that is totally the Holy Spirit and Jesus' job. But my job is to simply be a vessel, a demonstration of the forgiven perception, so that I'm with them and I see them, then it's only happiness and peace on my end, and I show up how I want to show up. I show up as myself, and myself is as God created me to be, not as I once thought that I was when I was a child, and how my friends might see me or my mom might see me. Because I know that that's not how I see myself any longer, and I want that to be fully accepted and realized in my mind, so that these relationships can become fully healed, and the demonstration of the holy relationships that we all desire. And so I guess, with that being said, that's my experience with applying this course lesson for today. So I'm not sure if that's helpful in any way. It's more so just me kind of getting my own thoughts out and hearing what I just experienced inwardly, and then ultimately extending it to all of you. So I mean, if it's helpful, great. If it's not, that's okay too. But I love you all, and we truly are in this process of mind training together. And as we apply these lessons, as Jesus, lays it out for us, then it literally is a joyous unraveling of the ego and a wonderful experience in the direction of truth. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. So with that being said, thank you for listening today. I love you, and God bless.